I hope the discussions that we are doing is interesting to you. So far, we are still in the discussion of the behavioral principles, in which you will find that users are the most important element in our design who are going to say our design is right or wrong. So, we have gone through the discussions of mental process earlier, expectations, tendencies and behavior, and then we have discussed about the spaces, the planes, which is basically give shape to our landscape project, and then we have discussed about the circulation pattern, which is a very important element through which people are going to experience and get exposed and experience our landscape. Next is a series of design principles that I am going to discuss. Design principles are what? What is principle? Principle is basically a kind of understanding of different items which is commonly accepted, tested over the years, and people have believed that whatever description that by which we are trying to explain this holds true for that particular item. It is not substantiated with lots of research or theory, but this is by tradition, by discussion, by deliberations. This has held its strong root on this. These principles, which I am going to discuss, maybe I will try to give examples to this, as many as possible, the pictorial examples, but I can tell you not everything can be really shown through pictures and made very clearly explicit. What is important is the understanding of it, understanding of the principles. These principles, how you would use it, if you pick one principle and then try to adopt in your landscape project, the way it is generally construed by common people, everybody, then you will find that your, the purpose of adopting that particular principle holds good. I will explain this a little more in detail. The common principles, why common? Because most commonly understood, and of course, researchers are researching on this. Social and psychologists, they are trying to give very clear and non-refutable or irrefutable description or definition of that. I am not going into that. The kind of understanding that we have, we architects, planners, designers we have, and how we construe this, I am going to say with respect to that language. Principles are always the kind of sense, what we understand from this, how we refer to this, and what is the presupposition for that particular principles and what is its implication. That is how the whole principle set works. There are three kind of principles, sets of principles. One set is abstract or expression. See, abstract or expression, I did not want to differentiate, because of course, when I will give examples to this, you will find that they will be differentiated, they will be listed differently, but I would say that the principles listed under abstract and principle listed under expressions, they are nothing but the subset of the abstract. Okay? And then the next one comes the arrangement of spaces, objects, and then form or character. The form or character of spaces or objects. Now, let me go a little more in this. If you are trying to express your design the way you have done it, what is the best possible result is that what you express through your design, adopting through these principles, and the viewer or the user, when one is experiencing this, it matches, it fits in. That is the best result that we can expect, covet. But the thing is, there are certain principles which are always generates arguments. One can contest. An example, let me say beauty. Beauty is one principle, abstract principle. What is beauty really? To me, something is beautiful, to you, something else is beautiful, or the one that is beautiful to me may not be beautiful to you. This is how the whole conflict starts. but we will not go into this kind of conflicting situations. We will try to find out how best we can adopt it. Okay. Then let me start with abstract principles. I will give a list of principles one after another. First, I will read out each one of them and then come to the next one. So, it is unity. I will elaborate what is aesthetic, what is functional. I will elaborate unity, harmony, beauty, climax, contrast, form, rhythm. They are basically abstract principles. Abstract principles means why it is abstract? Because if you really ask anybody that why you are saying that it is contrasting, people will not be able to say in discrete terms. Whenever you will find that this is not very discrete, that means it is not dimensional or it is not measurable, then it becomes abstract. Okay. In this, let me now highlight on unity. You will see one thing very interestingly. So, first of all, what is unity? Unity is a wholeness of every object that is contained within that particular area. If it is a landscape project, then at the back of our mind, many of the objects which are working, many of the kind of spaces which are working, which we think that it is landscape objects. The moment you put within that a set of objects that you have selected or elements that you have selected, you are trying to organize, and then people will say yes, it is reflecting unity. But the moment you put something else within it which does not fit within it, then immediately reaction starts in the mind of the user. You do not have to really point it out. You just have to experiment by putting something which is non-conducive to that particular area, then immediately you will find the unity is broken. It is something, a class. I will just give an example of a classroom. A class of class 4, all the students of class 4, when they are in the room, we say students of class 4. There is a unity. Students of class 4 we are saying, and then when you say it is a class, then not only the students of class 4, also the teacher makes the class. Imagine in that, in one of the seat, a class 10 student is sitting. The moment you will find a class 10 student, neither he is a teacher nor a student, that breaks the unity of it. Then if you say it is a class 4, immediately you will say no, there is something wrong. There is some element within which is not befitting to this. This is how the unity is disrupted. Okay. In this, various unities like various forms of or various expression of unities are like say aesthetic, functional, ethical, economic. All these 4 are very, very important. First, aesthetic. If all items within my landscape, see, I will try to give example with respect to landscapes, though these principles will also hold good for architecture, urban design, planning and many others, and also in life. But here I will try to draw examples from the landscape as best as possible. Sometime I might have to draw analogy from non-landscape oriented things, but okay, you will understand why I am doing it. Aesthetic, a landscape which should be generating pleasure in the mind, should look good. If every element that you put within looks good, it is unified. If there is one element out of the entire set of elements that you put and which is not looking good, then it is aesthetically non-unified. That is how it has to be seen. Now, who makes the judgment? First judgment is by you. You, the designer, you will decide that which elements or which objects are to put within it. And then if you find that one particular object you have placed very definitely or deliberately to check whether it is unified, and then if you see who is going to now corroborate that what you have done is true or not, then immediately you will find that this will be the users. The users will straightway give signals, may not be vocal, may not be verbally, but maybe by rejection, that okay, this is everything is fine, but that particular element does not fit within. So, mind always works, and since it is not methodically done, you cannot ask everybody and then statistically start proving that it is non-unified. No, it is not, it is unified. This does not hold good. So, mind starts working, and these things which commonly demonstrated by everybody, that is how it becomes principle. What is a functional unity? Every element which is supposed to serve a purpose or function within my landscape project site serves the purpose. If every element or space or objects are serving its purpose as desirable, then it has a functional unity. If there is something which does not fit in well, then you will say it is non-functional or functional non-unity. I will give an example. Historically, all the landscape projects or landscape sites, they had sound, the sound of flowing water and sound of birds, sound of air, making the leaves rub against each other. These were all sounds, and sound was always a very important element in the whole landscape. So, if there was sound, you never bothered. Sound of thunder, sound of rolling something, everything was there. Over the years, by experimenting, people started putting in sound boxes in the parks, and the sound boxes which were playing some known musics, as long as the music was not very disturbing. First of all, the sound box in my landscape itself suddenly became non-unity, because sound box was never a part of it. It was the sound that was a part of it, not the sound box. And then those speakers which are placed, it did not fit in well, so it became non-unified item within the landscape. As long as it was playing a music which was going almost well with the kind of serene or that environment of that landscape that you are experiencing, people did not take much notice of it or did not object to it much. But imagine that if suppose you are in the park and you are trying to see nature, rolling meadows with wonderful water body, trees, birds and everything, and then suddenly one very famous Hindi music or English music is being run in that particular speaker, through that speaker. That is non-unified. Non-unified. That means it does not fit in well. If suppose you put the speakers hidden, I'll tell you how we can also resolve. If suppose the landscape that you design, you put the speakers hidden, and then through that you play the music or play the sound of wind blowing, play the sound of leaves rubbing, play the sound of chirping, then it becomes unified even if the object is not unified. Why it is unified? Because if it is hidden, you don't know that what is generating that sound. What you expected coming to the garden is that sound of the birds, sound of the flowing water, sound of the wind rubbing the leaves against each other, and that is being played. So you think it is being emulated, and then you don't see the speakers, so that object visually also does not hurt you. So you think it is unified, but actually it is not. But still, I would say result is unified. This is how you have to view it. Okay, ethical. Ethical is, this is a very strong point, and there are a lot of arguments I have heard. What is ethical in a park? The sound system, again I'll tell you. Is the sound system very visible in a very vantage location, playing English or Hindi music or local, music which are non-contrary to, or say to this particular ambience is being played? That's unethical. It does not go by the rule of the park's serenity, environment, climate and such. There is another way of saying, this particular ethical and unethical, very nicely discussed by Hubbard long back in his book in landscape design. He has tried to put forward points which gave me an idea that can I explain this in my current scenarios. Example, let's say you enter a park. At a distance you find there is a wonderful series of trees standing, and below that there is a rock wall, stone wall. You get amazed, you like it from a distance. You go closer. The moment you have come to that particular edge, then you have found, my goodness, this is a fake. These are not trees. These are not stone walls. It is highly nicely printed wall and the trees on a flex that is being done now. Anything that you make in a small picture can be blown up to a large size and display over there. What happens is, there lies the catch. The flex is not supposed to be, the flex or such kind of banners is not supposed to be a component of a landscape. From a distance, when you looked at it, you could not make out that this is a fake till the point you understood that this is a fake. Till that particular point, it looked unified. This is what is the point I am trying to hint at. Till that particular point, The moment you have understood this is a fake, this became ethically wrong. Why ethically wrong? Because the flex is not supposed to be a part of my landscape, because it is mostly predominantly natural elements. Have you understood this particular point? Think yourself and try to find out many more examples in the similar nature. Another example I will give you. You looked at wonderful stone wall, you went closer, and then you find all those are nothing, not stone wall. They are all made of fiberglass or fiber, say FRPs, and given a shape so nicely that you cannot make out. Even the stone, if you try to pick up a stone, it's heavy. The moment you pick it up, it's a light fiberglasses or say fiber reinforced plastics molded stone. The moment you understand the reality of it, your mind starts rejecting it. As long as it was stone, even if it was heavy, even if it was rugged, you accepted it. But the moment you found no, it's a fake, then your mind rejects it. This is the point which is unethical. My point is, unity, when you are thinking, at that point of time people may argue, or the designer may argue, you wanted a stone wall, I gave you a replica of a stone wall. So it is unified. User will say, no, I wanted a stone. I wanted a stone wall, you did not give me the stone wall, you gave me a fake. So it is unethical unity. This is how the whole unity has to be seen into perspective. Economic, similar. Landscape is not supposed to be really very, very expensive, because it's nature. Majority of the elements that you are drawing is from the nature. But if you look at the French and Italian gardens, you will find they are so expensive. If you look at the gardens of the Spanish and the Mughal and the Japanese, Chinese and also English to a certain extent, then you will find they are not that expensive, because the expenses, if the money starts speaking about the quality of the landscape, then the landscape has lost its actual grandeur. And this is where, if suppose you find a very costly element within your landscape, then it is economic non-unity. So unity, when you are thinking about it, it should be always seen with respect to how the people are going to perceive and how they are going to see that, how it is coming in the mind. So if I now come back to again aesthetic, functional, ethical, economic, then my suggestion is that if you are trying to create something, a landscape which is going to conform to the unity principle of this, then it should be aesthetically good, nothing should be ghastly, it should be functional, everything should be in place as it was required, everything should be ethical. People will not feel bad, people will not feel jerked, people will not feel threatened by something opposite, and everything is economically subtle. Quite often I can tell you, this I have seen myself, the best is that you go through all the French and Italian examples that I have shown in the earlier lectures. You reopen that and see the pictures, in which you will find that a garden is supposed to be nature, a sculpture which has been pushed over there, which may show or rather reflect a very strong strength of the sculptor. But the thing is, sculpture is not a part of the garden by virtue of itself, by nature. Sculpture is a part of the garden because the designer wanted it or the owner wanted it. So it was pushed into this, and now people have started feeling that the sculpture probably is a part of the garden. I have seen also many sculptures which are socially or morally bad. The nudes, for an example. You enter a park with your children and you find there are lots of sculptures which are reflecting or depicting nudity. Absolutely unethical. No arguments for this. Absolutely unethical. For children, not for you, for children. It is unethical. The thing is, this has to be kept in mind. So all these principles which I am going to tell you, some are, see, I will tell you all the principles in over the years can be always refutable, debated, contested. But the thing is, if you search your soul and try to understand yourself, then automatically your answers or your results will be accordingly depicted. Okay. The next one is a harmony. Harmony in terms of visual, form, categorical or category and specialities. See, harmony is what? That everything seems to be in place as it is supposed to be. There is a harmony between one element. So it is harmony is always with respect to the each element with respect to the whole, each element with respect to the next element, each element with respect to the next adjacent element. So harmony is basically, when you look at it, then you feel that everything is harmonized. Yes, it is going well in terms of form, in terms of category, in terms of speciality, in terms of its look and all other aspects. But again, very difficult to write it down exactly what harmony is. If you enter a place and everything you look, you think, yes, it is fairly fitting well within this and as expected, then I would say harmony is achieved. Most often, since we are depending on the visuals, then the form plays a very important role in the harmony. The same classroom that I have given the example, in which the class 4 within which a class 10 students has entered and sitting on a chair, is non-harmonious because in every respect, first of all, his education level, his age, his stature, his size, everything is non-harmonious. So immediately you will find that once you look at a classroom of class 4 students and suddenly one class 10 student is occupying one chair, non-harmonious. So something which your mind gives you a signal. Nobody has to tell you really. Nobody has to dictate you. It is just your mind rejects or accepts whether it is unified, whether it is harmonious. Then another very dangerous principle is the beauty. Always we have found that yes, this is one of the principles which is contested every time, and that we have also tested with our own personal life. We like some people, we think some people are beautiful or handsome, and to others if you ask, no, they don't like, they don't think it's the person is handsome or the lady is beautiful. No, it is basically what happens is how your mind accepts the overall look and the characteristics of this. So in beauty, what happens is again in the same visual, how it looks, the form, the profiles, the category, what kind of category, and the speciality. This category, and I would say here you can also think in terms of the characteristics. Now what is the characteristics? So it is because of which that when you, I will just give a personal analogy, because quite often I prefer to give personal analogy to understand something which is not very commonly defined. The personal analogy is that when you make a friend, make another person a friend, whether a boy or a girl, when you look at that particular person, do you first look at the beauty, or do you talk to the person and try to find out what is inside, or do you feel that there are certain things which are very common in your taste and choices, or do you think that they are opposite? If you find they are opposite, then you will not find the other person beautiful or handsome. You will not. So what happens is, this is how when you are thinking, when you talk about this garden is a beautiful garden, then your mind has to give you a signal for which strengths you are saying this as beautiful. If anything that is created was not really beautiful to a certain extent, then in that case some garden which you don't like was liked by many, some garden which you like may not be liked by many. So this is very relative to individuals. So basically what happens is unity and harmony, which are by common phenomena, the beauty is very, very person specific or the user specific. But one thing I can tell you, something is beautiful which generates pleasure in your mind, whatever it is, whatever. If suppose something which you look at and you feel pleased, then it is beautiful to you. So it is very, very user specific. Keep that in mind. Then climax. Climax is what? Climax is suddenly something comes up in front of you, and then you had been seeing things in landscape, and then suddenly you saw something which you reached the peak of your liking, or so that is what is a climax. So what happens is, when you create landscape, then we generally gradually take the persons to a particular point, give them good experience, and at one point of time suddenly something opens up in front of his eyes and he reaches the highest level of pleasure, and after that again everything falls down in terms of his expression. That is what is a climax. Contrast is basically relative, that if there is some elements or some objects or some spaces, and there are other which are characteristically opposite, then it's a contrast, whether it's color, whether it's form. Like say there's a rectilinear form, a garden, and then immediately after there's a circular garden, and there is one particular water body, and after that it's a sand. They are all contrasting in terms of its characteristics. That you have to keep in mind. Okay, the form. The form in terms of this, oh, I forgot to show you, highlight this particular photograph. I have selected this photograph for a very definite reason. This is one of the latest, very recent English Gardens product. Nature never has created this. This, in fact, I was trying to correlate with Unity. When I was discussing, I missed that particular point. The thing is, this is not really created by nature. Individually, if you look at it, an excellent piece of art, excellent piece of art. Only thing is, does it fit in natural landscape? Probably no. Is it ethical or unethical? I won't comment on this. It is you who has to judge. Why it is ethical or unethical, I will not comment, because it is you to judge. Because when you are entering a landscape site, are you expecting to see something like this? If not, then it is unethical. If you don't mind, ethical. But this costs not like normal other landscape costs. So, economically also, is it unified? You have to judge. Functionally, yes, functionally it is a piece of sculpture, functionally it works. Aesthetically also, it is wonderful sculpture somebody has created, it's good. But for a landscape, is it ethical, or should have been in one of the exhibition galleries? This is the point which I am trying to hint at. Okay. Now, coming back again to the form, we have basically two divisions, simple and complex. It is based on the simplicity and the complexity. I have written simple and complexity, basically it is simplicity or complexity, or simple or complex. Okay. An example, let me show you here. This particular landscape is very simple. Every element is there, every element is of good quality. This is slightly complex, not that simple, because here why it is simple compared to this one, because everything has been kept in least amount of interventions, and here everything has been done with very, very precisions and dimensions and geometry. Rhythm is another very, very debatable principle. That is why all these principles is kept within abstract. Okay. What is rhythm? If suppose you have one element or one space, let us talk about the element. One element, next to that another element, then another element, then another element. You find that there is a kind of say flowing from one to another, and they are very, very nicely intertwined in terms of giving a good reactions or to you yourself. Think about the space, go from one space to the next space to the next space to the next space till you come back to the start point where you came, and you find that yes, there is a nice transition from one place to another to another to another, and it did not ever give you a jerk, never gave you a kind of jolt. That is rhythmic. Rhythm is basically a flowing of one to another without giving either mental jerks or any psychological jerks or any other even physical jerks. Okay. This is what is the kind of rhythm that you create, but still debatable. Any landscape that you show me, and if you can tell me that this is rhythmic, it will be very difficult for me to accept unless I feel that it is rhythmic. So, these are the abstract principles which make sense, but very difficult to even comment on or create. But however, that does not stop us from creating. If you create these nicely, you will find that your landscape is going to be created very, very well. Okay. Thank you for today, and again we will discuss further on other design principles. Thank you very much. Hope you are enjoying it.